One fertilizer produced 3 times the yield of tomatoes compared to the best soil grower. Another won the taste test unanimously, and the cheapest option, it wasn't even close to what I expected. In part 1, I left you with 5 big questions. Which fertilizer actually grows more tomatoes? Does hydroponics height advantage translate to yield? Can organic beat synthetic? Is the combo treatment worth the extra cost? And most importantly, which one tastes the best? Today we're answering all of them. We've got the final harvest data, we've got the taste test, and we've got the cost per kilogram breakdown that honestly changed how I think about growing tomatoes at home. Plus, I'll share what went wrong, what I'd change next season, and the one result that genuinely surprised me. So come on, let's get into it. If you haven't seen part 1, here's the short version. I grew 16 Roma tomato plants across 6 treatments. A control with no added fertilizer, organic using Carp fish emulsion and Seasol seaweed extract, synthetic using Osmocote slow release granules, a combination of all 3, a DIY potting mix which failed early, and a hydroponic setup using Dutch buckets in the greenhouse. The experiment ran for 125 days from late November through to late March. That's an entire Melbourne summer. And what a summer it was. We copped heat waves up to 43 degrees, spider mites, powdery mildew, whitefly, and even rat damage. At week 9, the plants were ranked by height, and organic and synthetic were practically neck and neck. Hydroponics was 70% taller than everything else, and I asked the question, did I just grow tomato skyscrapers? Or will that height actually turn into more fruit? Now, before we get stuck into all of the results, do us a favour. Hit that like and subscribe button. It won't cost you anything. It just tells YouTube that we're doing an alright job. Alright, let's get into the results. So here's where the rubber meets the road. What was the total yield per plant, averaged across all 3 replicates? In first place, drum roll please, was actually hydroponics. 1,746 grams per plant. That's 1.75 kilos or just under 4 pounds. In second place was synthetic, 792 grams per plant. Third was the combo, 628 grams. Fourth was the control at 581 grams. And in last place, organic, 532 grams per plant. Now, here's the key takeaway. Hydroponics didn't just win, it tripled the best soil treatment, 3 times the yield. Remember in part 1 when the hydro plants were 70% taller, turns out that height advantage translated to 220% more yield. So no, I didn't just build tomato skyscrapers. They actually produced. But here's what I didn't expect. The synthetic treatment clearly beat organic on yield. 792 versus 532 grams. That's 49% more. And the combo, which was the most expensive treatment, came in third. Not first, third. Remember in part 1, organic and synthetic were dead even on height. 717 versus 712 millimetres, less than 1% difference. But on yield, synthetic pulled away, which proves what I suspected. Height is a terrible predictor of how many tomatoes you're actually going to pick. Now, this is important. Every single treatment produced undersized fruit. Roma tomatoes should average around 60 grams each. That's about 2 ounces. Our fruit averaged between 23 and 32 grams, roughly half the expected size. Hydroponics had the biggest fruit at 31.8 grams average. Synthetic came next at 29.7, organic at 26.6, and the combo and control were both around 23 to 24 grams. So why was everything so small? A few reasons. First, Melbourne's heat waves. When temperatures hit 42 to 43 degrees during fruit set, it damages pollen and reduces cell division in developing fruit. That affects every plant equally. Second, I didn't thin the trusses. Research from Wageningen University shows that limiting trusses to 4 or 5 fruit significantly increases individual fruit weight. I let every fruit develop, which spread the plant's energy too thin. Third, the final harvest included a lot of green and immature fruit. Day 125 was a strip harvest. Everything came off the vine, whether it was ripe or not. That pulled the averages down. And for the hydro plant specifically, the 1-to-1 nitrogen to potassium ratio I used likely promoted more fruit at the expense of larger fruit. Research shows the ideal ratio during fruiting should shift to about 1.4 to 1.7 parts potassium for every part nitrogen. That's something commercial greenhouse growers do as standard practice. And it's one of the biggest changes I'll make next time. All right, this is the one everyone's been waiting for, the taste test. 3 of us at home did a blind taste test, scoring each treatment on appearance and taste for a combined score out of 30. Feeding him, this one actually surprised me. And the winner? The combo. And it wasn't close. Perfect 15 out of 15 on taste. All 3 testers ranked it number 1 independently. It had a combined score of 27 out of 30. The second place was Hydroponics with 19. Third was a tie between the control and synthetic, both on 17. And organic came last with just 10 out of 30. Now, that result goes against what a lot of people assume. You'd think organic would taste the best, right? Fish and seaweed, natural inputs. Surely that makes for a better tomato. But the research actually supports what we found. Published studies in MDPI journals show that combining organic and synthetic fertilizers improves sugar content by 10 to 14% and lycopene by 10 to 24% compared to synthetic alone. Seaweed extract specifically boosts the sugar to acid ratio by about 10%. So the combo treatment gave the plants adequate potassium from the Osmocote granules, plus the quality boosting organic inputs from the seaweed and fish. So they got the best of both worlds. And why did organic on its own rank last? Probably because the Charlie Carp fish emulsion has very low potassium. The NPK is roughly 311. Potassium is critical for sugar accumulation in fruit, and without it, taste suffers. Now let's talk money, because this is where it gets really interesting. In part 1, I showed you the per plant costs. Here is what happens when you divide those costs by actual yield. In year 1, including setup, hydroponics costs $19.69 per kilo. That's actually the cheapest. Synthetic is $27.55, combo is $35.86, control is $36.01, and organic is the most expensive at $40.64 per kilo. But the real story is year 2 and beyond, when you've already got your pots and buckets. Hydroponics drops to just $4.04 per kilo. Synthetic is $15.88, control is $20.10, combo is $21.15, and organic is $23.28. So here's the thing. Hydroponics is nearly 4 times cheaper per kilo than any soil method from year 2 onwards. 4 times. That upfront investment of $34 per plant pays for itself almost immediately because the yield is so much higher. And the dark horse from part 1, the control treatment with 0 added fertilizer, it produced 73% of the best soil yield at no additional fertilizer cost. $20 a kilo ongoing. That's only 27% more expensive than synthetic per kilogram, despite adding zero additional fertilizer. So let's talk about why the data finished the way that it did, because understanding the why is more valuable than just seeing the numbers. Hydroponics dominated because of one thing: consistent automated irrigation. 5 times a day, every day, no matter the weather. That eliminated water stress, which is the single biggest yield limiter for container-grown tomatoes. During those 43-degree days, my potted plants were drying out and getting blossom end rot. The hydro plants were barely affected. Synthetic beat organic because Osmocote provided steady, calibrated nutrients, including adequate potassium throughout the entire season. Charlie Carp's NPK ratio of 3:1 is very low in potassium, and Seasol is a biostimulant, not a primary fertilizer. It's got almost no NPK. So the organic plants were essentially potassium starved during the critical fruiting phase. And the DIY mix, dead by day 104, only one plant, so I can't really draw any conclusions about that. But the symptoms matched aminopyralid herbicide contamination. That's a persistent broadleaf herbicide that can survive composting and contaminate cocoa coir. Tomatoes are very sensitive to it, even at concentrations as low as 1 to 5 parts per billion. So here's what I'm going to do differently next time. Number 1, adjusting the hydroponic nutrient ratio. Instead of a flat 1-to-1 all season, I'll stage it. Equal nitrogen and potassium before flowering, then shift to 1 to 4 parts potassium during flowering and 1.7 parts potassium during fruit development. That's standard commercial practice and should improve both fruit size and flavour. Number 2, thinning fruit trusses. I'm limiting each truss to 4 or 5 fruit. Research says it's the single most effective strategy for reaching that 60-gram target weight. Number 3, supplementing organic with potassium. If I run the organic treatment again, I'm adding potassium sulfate or kelp meal. Fish emulsion alone is not enough. And number 4, improving pollination in the greenhouse by using an electric vibrating wand every day. Research shows a 72 to 82% increase in fruit weight with mechanical pollination. And that's huge for greenhouse plants that don't get much wind or insect traffic. So let's bring it all together. Here are the big lessons from 125 days and 16 plants. Lesson 1, height does not predict yield. Organic and synthetic were nearly identical in height at week 9, but synthetic outperformed by 49% on yield. So don't judge a plant by how tall it is. Lesson 2, hydroponics isn't just for commercial growers. At $4 a kilo from year 2, it's the most cost-effective way to grow tomatoes in a backyard setup. And the automated irrigation gives you built-in protection against heat waves and blossom end rot. And lesson 3, if you want the best tasting tomato, use both organic and synthetic inputs together. The science backs it. The taste test proved it. And lesson 4, one replicate tells you nothing. My DIY mix failed because it was just one plant, and I still don't know if it was the recipe or contamination. 3 plants is a minimum when you're trying to test something. And lesson 5, the biggest improvements I can make next season: thinning trusses, adjusting the potassium ratio, and better pollination. And the good thing is these aren't expensive changes. Now, I want to hear from you. Did you actually predict the results correctly from part 1? Did you think organic would win the taste test? And did anyone pick the control as the dark horse? Drop your thoughts and your own experiments in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you want to see the full data, charts, and research citations, I'll link the complete report in the description below. So that's the experiment done. 16 plants, 6 treatments, 125 days. And the big takeaway, don't assume. Test it, measure it, and let the data tell you what actually works. If you found this test useful, share it with a mate who grows tomatoes. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe so you don't miss out on what's coming next. But for now, I'll catch you on the next one.